All right, I'm going to let everybody in.
Welcome, everyone. We'll give everybody about a minute to get logged in, and then we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. We'll get started in about 30 seconds. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone. This is Michael with dataBridge. Welcome to the SharePoint Concierge webinar. Today, we've got some good stuff planned for you. We've got several presenters. And for you that are SharePoint Concierge clients, this is our monthly webinar that we put out to show you some new features, functionality that Microsoft has released in and around SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Azure, the different things that apply there. And as part of being a SharePoint Concierge client, you get some one-on-one time with us, as well as we will take the recordings of these webinars, as well as any trainings and white papers we do through the month, and put them on a learning site. So if you're a guest here today, that's the full sales presentation. We're going to jump into it here in just a minute. I'll introduce Andrea, who's going to be our moderator today, and she's going to give you the lineup, and we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again. I'm Andrea Skinner, and I am delighted to serve as your moderator today. Yes, we do have some great topics to cover. I'll go ahead and share the agenda on the screen. And so you can see we are going to talk about a brand new feature. You may or may not have seen this yet. There are some built-in library templates for you to use that Microsoft has released recently. And then we're going to cover Microsoft Teams forms, requests, approvals. These are templates. Again, they're available in Microsoft Teams, or you can create your own custom, save them in there. So the option is there. Either use Microsoft's templates or create your own custom ones. SharePoint News and Outlook. This is pretty exciting. We've actually had clients that have asked, can we share news pages, news posts, email? Now you can. Just stay tuned. Require organizational backgrounds for those who want kind of to have a little bit of control of the look and feel of backgrounds in Teams. As you can see behind me, we have a dataBridge background, so we're going to cover some new policies available there in Microsoft Teams, and then we'll end with how to add an alert message in the top banner. This is really not a new feature, but it's often an asked for feature, and so Dylan will be showing us how we can deploy that. It used to be available, in SharePoint Classic very easily with JavaScript injection, but Dylan's going to show you how to do this in PowerShell. And then at the end, we are going to have open mics. We'll have a live Q&A session. So I'll go over some housekeeping things really quickly. So your mics are muted, so you won't be able to speak while the presentations are going, but please use that chat box. We will respond to you in that chat. And if we can't answer, right away in the chat, we'll take that question at the end for that open mic time. So there will be question and answer where we can speak, but until then, just use that chat pane. And then I think that's all. So this is our last webinar of this year. We have one coming up in January, so stay tuned for the topics coming through for the new year. That's exciting that we're already talking about the new year. So let's jump right in. We're starting off with Hayden presenting on these built-in library templates. Over to you, Hayden.
Thank you so much. I have the honor and privilege to be able to share with you guys today the brand new feature that's rolling out this month. So if you do not have this feature yet or you don't see it on your tenant, just give it some time and it will begin to populate. So what we're talking about is the new ability for the library templates and how that works. What we'll be showing you is the new Microsoft templates. These are more out of the box that come with pre-existing templates for you to use. And then also how to duplicate the structure from pre-existing document libraries, whether it's on the same site or not. And then, of course, the different features that interact with both content types and Power Automation within those document libraries. A couple terms just to catch everyone up to date. Document libraries is just a repository. It's where your documents and files live. And then content types defines a collection of fields that can be reproduced and repurposed on multiple lists or multiple document libraries. With that said, I will go ahead and show you a quick example. So if you were utilizing SharePoint and you wanted to create a new document library and you hit this new button, in the past, what would happen is when you would hit the document library, it would create this kind of side pane window that allows you to, enter the name of the document library as well as if you wanted to show it on navigation. But what happens now with this new feature is it opens up this new window that allows a couple different options. One of the main options that you can see right up front is the Microsoft templates. These are from Microsoft, and I'm sure as time goes, more templates will be added from the Microsoft team. But right now, we're starting off with 3 to get it running. So when you click on one of these templates, it will open up similar to the list view when you're creating a new list and you're using a template. So it shows a brief overview of the window and the different fields that will exist in that window. It'll go over a brief summary of what the document library is being used for, and then some select features that come with it. Now, there's a couple of key things within the features that really excited me when this started getting rolled out. The first one, for sure, is the flow. So anytime I saw the flow, I think, okay, are we talking about Power Automate? And we are actually. So when you go to use the template, it then brings up, do you want to put a name, description, add to the site navigation? But when you create it, it takes a little bit to process because it's creating the full structure. But once it's created, you'll see that all the columns are already existing in the background. But before it gets started, it hits you with a notification to go ahead and set up that Power Automate flow for you. This is perfect for those that don't really know Power Automate or aren't as familiar with it. And this is just a quick way to get everything set up exactly how you need, as well as have the columns in place. One of the coolest features of this, though, that I'm super excited about is the fact that you can actually bring over the exact structure of another document library to this site, even if it's a completely different site and it's not even associated with the hub or connected in any way, as long as it lives under your tenant. So if you click from existing libraries, it'll open up a list of all your different sites. And I have another site, an InfoWise site, that I created just a quick document library to kind of show you how this is going to work with content types. So it has the different fields, but if you go into the actual library settings, you can see that there is a content type test 1, 2, 3, and different columns that exist within that content type. So when you go over and you select from the list the site you'd like and the content type test, you can rename it if you'd like, or maybe put a description, and then you create it. And what you'll notice is once it comes up, all of the site columns that were on the previous document library are there as well and able to be used. And if you go up to the library settings, you can double check that it already brought over the content type test 1, 2, 3, as well as all those fields for easy use. This is a huge step forward when it comes to efficiency, organizational management. We really love to see this new feature being rolled out. This will cut down on a lot of upfront need to build out structures or have document libraries on 2 different screens just to make sure everything's good there. And there's one other thing that I wanted to point out, which I thought was really neat, is when you go into a pre-built template, they also include the views as well. So you don't have to recreate the wheel of the views, or if it's a dashboard, it's already there for you. The only other thing that I would like to mention with this is the capabilities of if an organization is utilizing multiple document libraries for similar aspects just on different sites. Let's say you are a building company per se, and you have each building has a different project site, but you have a document library that you'd like to push out to all those sites. This is a great way to do it. When Microsoft was showing us the new abilities of the document library, they did mention that eventually you'll have the option of organizational templates. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that all flows together. But again, this is one of those features that is almost long overdue, and we're very excited to see it come to fruition. So with that said, I will hand it back to Andrea and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayden. Great job. Yeah, we are over the moon about this. It's really puts templatizing structure in libraries back in the hands of the end user. And you don't have to go into the content type hub, build your content types, deploy them, add them to libraries. This is just really saving that all in one nice little package. So very cool. So we will hear next from Dylan on Microsoft Teams, forms, requests, approval, etc. Over to you, Dylan.
Hey everyone, yeah, so today's presentation will go through Microsoft Teams forms and approvals, and to show you how you can quickly create a request form as well as have an approval just right within Teams without really having to do any development or anything like that. You have pre-existing templates that you can take advantage of for that. Not even having to build from scratch if one of the templates work, and I'll show some of those to you today. And really this may appeal to those that aren't fully in SharePoint yet. Maybe we've seen people that have already fully adopted Microsoft Teams. They're collaborating. They have their own channels, but they haven't fully gotten into actually building out everything in SharePoint, or just people that prefer that. So I just want to show something that kind of bridges the gap between the having everything just day to day in SharePoint versus those that are in Teams. You can get some of those same features beyond just sharing your documents and doing posts in Teams. You can also do some forms and approvals without having to get into automation or SharePoint lists. So what I'll do is I'll bring that over on my screen, but first I want to just make sure we're on the same page when we're talking about Microsoft Teams. I'm talking about what we're using now for this conferencing and in all of the so just that 365 Teams app that you're using. If you're on this meeting now, you're probably familiar already, but just want to make sure that's what we're talking about. And so I'm going to pull that up on the screen, and I'll just walk through how we can do that. So let's bring this over. So what I'm going to do is just for any if you're already using approvals, you may be familiar with this, but I'm going to go ahead and show you. So if I go over to I'm going to say more added apps. I'm just looking for my approvals app. So I just wanted to show you the approval matrix here, that you can access through Teams. So when I pull this up, all the approvals, whether they're coming from SharePoint or Teams or anywhere, all the approvals related to me are going to show up here that are using that approval functionality in 365. So I can see, I've got a couple here that, originated from Teams, from doing a request here in Teams, and then, one that's from SharePoint. So it's a pretty handy feature. You can always export this, see all your previous history of your different approvals that have happened and, what it happened on. So, if you've been doing primarily just your approvals through your Outlook email, just to let you know, there is a record of all that stuff here in the Teams app. And so the other side of that is that, we can actually build out a request form pretty easily, or just submit a new request form using one of the templates right from here as well. So on this, in the top right-hand corner here, I want to show you, if I hit the new approval request, any templates that I already have in my environment that I have made available, or as an admin maybe has made available, you're going to see those here. So, for instance, I could just do the blank basic request. Also down here, I've got 2 that I've created recently, and I can actually see they're just for my personal channel. So you can make them, organizational wide, or make them, for particular groups of people to see. So in my case, I could choose one. I'll just show you, as a requester, how you could just, fill out a form. So, I'm just saying new approval request, and I've got a form with fields already here, in who that approver is. I've already got it set to myself, and I can actually show you how you can tweak those, but you can do up to 10, approvers, and you could have those preset if you wanted to, and you can always change these fields. So I've got a handful of fields here, but I could just show you real quick doing it as a requester, just filling this out. And we'll see it's an amount field. So I'll just fill out all my fields which are required. And also this is using technically, so this form here, if you're wondering, what this, what's powering this, basically, it's the Microsoft Forms. So I did look into that. So if anyone's using Microsoft Forms, technically these are using that engine, the Microsoft Forms engine. But what I did is I just submitted a request, and I have myself already set as an approver for this, payment request custom is what it's called, so that goes to me. And so what I'll show as well is how you can make some different ones available. And let me just go ahead, actually, let's cancel out and show you that. So we'll just come over here. So I just let me actually go back and do that a little slower there. So in the bottom left-hand corner, there's this create or manage templates. So if I click that, now I'm doing this more as the admin side of things of, what templates do I want to make available if I wanted to use one, or I could create my own. So I could say, create a new template up here. So just to show you, if I hit the view more, there's already a whole bunch here that you can take advantage of. So, if you're like, maybe an out of the office or leave request would be nice for my channel. We don't have something like that now. Right now, I just have to send a message. You might try one of these out, like a leave form. Something like that. So you already have a handful of these that have an approval already set up. So you don't have to get into actually developing an approval automation process for these, so you have a handful of these you could check out. I could click one of these. We could even use this as our starting point here, this contract request. And if I hit next, I can choose, who do I want this particular form to be available to? Is it everyone? Is it specific people? Is it a team? So, if I was to choose team, I could choose, my own team here. So team just being, you have your different groups, that, so if someone, HR might have one, IT might have one, that kind of thing. So, I'm just coming through the process of giving it the name here and a category and description for it. But let me just click over here. So just to show you, so basically I chose that template, and I could come in here and tweak the fields, move them around, change the field types, or I could, leave it as is. But just to show you, it's that same experience if you've used Microsoft Forms. It's pretty intuitive, fairly straightforward, nothing too complicated there. And when you're ready, if you want to just change something, maybe I'll make this not required. It's just updating there. So anyways, once you're done with that, you can just come over And you actually have a few other options here if you want to set up an approval. So you could turn that off or on. I could turn on an approval. And I could specify someone to be that approver, like myself. And whether or not there should be an attachment. And then just previewing it there and do a publish. So what I did is I created a new form that's available for my team, essentially. So if you were, let's say, there's particular team that's using a particular group that's using Teams regularly, they could have a request form set up, whatever that might be, document approval. Just real quick one. It's going to be fairly straightforward. If you need something more custom, then just go through creating Power Automate, do it in SharePoint. But just to show you, real straightforward way to just create some forms, and then you can even put those on your team. You can embed those in your particular team channel. So, and I'll just show that real quick. So I'm just coming over to my team, and up here at the top, let me just click over. I've actually embedded one of my templates in here, so I can actually manage that template, right from my personal, team. So I can see that here, and so technically, one of my templates, I can find that in the Microsoft Forms. Just coming in here. So, it's nice that it's available there. If I wanted to go back and edit it, I have a spot where I kind of make it easy by just adding it as a tab up here. And if you guys want more information on that or looking for something, you can always let us know. We can help you. But, it might be something you can easily check out that doesn't require too much. If you're already familiar with using Teams and you're already, adding tabs and things like that, it might be something worth checking out. So with that in mind, I think that'll cover my portion on this topic today. So I will hand this back over.
Thank you so much, Dylan. What's great about these topics is these are features and things that you have in your tenant. It's nothing that you have to go, purchase or enable. These things are already there for you, which is very cool. If you didn't know it was there, now you do. Next up, we have a couple of topics. We're going to hear from Leona, and then Leona's also going to share with us some news that was not in the agenda, but it is some Microsoft news to be thinking of for the future and planning for, just in case. Over to you, Leona.
All righty. Well, welcome everyone. Yep, today I'm going to be covering multiple subjects. The first one being the SharePoint news and Outlook. So in this section, we're going to be covering kind of a new feature that's been deployed, which you should be seeing this now in your tenants, that allows you to be able to send and render news articles inside of Outlook. So for those who don't know what news are, news pages are in essence additional pages inside of SharePoint that allow them to be kind of rolled up into news feeds, which we'll show that in just a second. So let me go ahead and pull up my site. So this is a news feed web part. You might have seen these type of web parts on your site before. These buttons right here kind of take us to individual article pages. For this new feature that we're talking about, if you ever wish to make a new news post that you want to send out via Outlook, you can click on News Post here. And then at the very top, Microsoft has a bunch of different templates available to you. So you have all the ones that are made for email. So again, we can easily send these through through Outlook, or you can use these standard ones, which do not have this feature. So again, these are two kind of separate controls. You cannot kind of retroactively update the old pages to have this functionality. They have to be specifically made from one of the made for template email templates. So let's just start off by selecting one of these ones. So let's just select this status update as our template that we wish to use. So in essence, when we create this post here, a template pops up and kind of fills in all the placeholder text, and we can kind of make adjustments. So some differences between normal news article pages and these new ones made for mail are going to be the controls at the very top. So in essence, we have now a preview control. So this is how it's going to render inside of Outlook. So you can see that, hey, you know what, I can make sure this looks really pretty for my user base. So whenever I do send it out to them, this is how it's going to look. So you can kind of make edits until you're satisfied before sending it out. There's also going to be this post and send, which we'll press here in a moment, but we'll want to cover a couple more things. So this will kind of eventually publish the news post into the news feeds and also have an additional control to say who we're going to be sending this to via email. Another couple of things to be aware of with the new pages is that they have limited control. So with modern news pages, we got a lot of different apps that are available to us. What the ones made for email are far more limited. So again, you really only get kind of static content that will live on the page versus any sort of dynamic content. So just be aware, again, these are a little bit more simplistic, but again, maybe most of your news articles or news that you wish to send out to your organization is just more body of text, images, maybe a file preview type of idea. So let's go ahead and say, you know what, everything that we did on this page looks fantastic and it's perfect. We're ready to send this out to the organization. So when you click this new post and send, oops, we got to give it a title real quick. So we'll call this one Hello World 2.0. And when we click this post and send, we'll get this pop-up right here that will allow us to determine who we're sending this to. So again, this has to be either users or groups within inside of your organization. So if we typed in remote team, we can send out an email to all of our users in that remote team. Or if you wish to type in individual user's name, you can do that as well. Another thing to be aware of is that you can send this without users having access to this page or to this site. So if you say, you know what, maybe IT has a private site, but they created an article that they really wish to kind of push out to the entirety of the organization, they can do this here, send this article out. They don't have access to that IT site or that page, but that content is fed to them via Outlook in kind of a easy consumable format. But let's go ahead and say, you know what, everything looks fantastic. We're going to send it to the remote team and myself. I'm going to go ahead and hit this send button. It lets us know that it's been sent. And in just a moment, I'll be receiving an email in my Outlook. And let me go ahead and kind of pull this up for us. So here is that kind of post that we saw before. So again, all that information is sent over to us. Again, it does come from the user who kind of hit that send button. So just be aware that, hey, if you're logged in as an individual user, it will be sending it as you, the person who's hitting that send button. So again, this can kind of be used maybe as an organization that right now has been doing a lot of newsletters through maybe PDFs and sending those out as attachments, or typing all that stuff into emails and then duplicating that data somewhere else. This allows you to kind of make one streamlined fashion method to say, hey, we create the news article here. It gets fed anywhere inside SharePoint that those news articles should be fed to, and also the user base gets to consume it via their email as well. So that's the very first section that we're going to be covering today on my side. Let me go ahead and pull up my next one. The next one is going to be talking about the organizational backgrounds for Microsoft Teams and policies that are coming forth. So Microsoft with Teams have been kind of developing new policies that are available to you if you're using Teams Premium that can allow for different kind of controls to be enabled. So the ones that are currently out right this second is going to be only show custom backgrounds. When configured for users, will only have the option to apply custom backgrounds, require a background blur. So this is another control that says, hey, if by chance you do not have a background selected, we're going to force a blur on you. So again, maybe if you have either team members who maybe work from home and their background is a little bit messy, and you want to make sure that, hey, we want to be professional here, guys. We don't want to have, kind of dirty backgrounds there. This is an option to kind of force that to be applied. And the last one's going to be preset organizational backgrounds, which should be happening by the end of this month, hopefully. When enabled, a user will have a preset background defined by IT without the ability to change the background. So in essence, if you say, hey, as an organization, we need to have kind of maybe our background logo, kind of like what we have right here, to be forced down onto all of our user bases, or maybe different teams have different backgrounds that should be automatically applied, that's going to become available to you here in the near future. So just to kind of show you how to get this and configure this. So if you are an admin, your goal is to get to the admin portal. And once we are in the admin portal, we'll want to make sure that we find the right Teams portal, which if you can see it here, or if you don't see it here, you can click on all admins and then find Teams here. Again, you may not have access to this based off your rights that are applied or the policies that are applied to you. So once we get into the Teams admin portal, what we'll want to do is go into meetings. And then inside of customization policies is where these controls will exist. So if we go ahead and go into one of our custom ones here, so we're going to go ahead and click on this dataBridge branding one. There's going to be controls at the very bottom of this page, which is going to be those background options. So these are the ones that we just talked about. Presumably, whenever the next one that gets deployed by the end of the month will be an extra option here. But as of right now, these are the two controls that say, hey, you know what? Apply background blur when no background is selected. So that's going to be just more of an on and off switch. And then also use background images from my organization. So this is again an off and on switch. So this is where if you say, hey, we wish these things to be pushed out to our user base to force these policies, this is where you'd be able to configure that. So again, those are kind of two new kind of features that are coming out now or in the near future for you guys for Teams. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of cover just one last piece of information, which is going to be more about the idea of things that we've already said multiple times. Microsoft has finally given us final termination dates or retirement dates, which will be for InfoPath forms in the 2013 workflow engine. So again, Microsoft has kind of already stopped support and allow for user bases to create new ones, but now they have a term or kind of a retirement date, which will then say, hey, once we reach these dates that we see here on the screen, these will no longer work. So again, InfoPath forms, July the 14th, 2026. If you have any existing forms on that date, those are going to no longer work at all. So which means you won't be able to get to those services any longer. Again, as of right now, you can open up those forms. Sometimes they may be a little bit finicky, but Microsoft is not supporting them. But again, once we reach this date, it is more of a retirement. Same thing with 2013 designer workflows. Again, you couldn't be creating them now anyways, but if you did have any running right this second on your tenant, April 2nd, 2026, they're going to kind of delete those services or retire those services. So again, you have a little bit of time to get off of those two applications if you're still using them. Hopefully you're not. But again, just these wanted to be aware of these kind of retirement dates that are coming to us in the near future. So with that being said, Andrea, I'll pass it back on to you. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Leona. All right. So last but definitely not least, we'll hear from Dylan once again, showing us how to add the alert bars in modern pages in SharePoint Online. These can be used for things like maybe an urgent happening on a campus or a lockdown, or maybe a kind of a dangerous inclement weather, or you name it, right? It's anything that maybe all of your users need to see. Sometimes IT will use these for planned outages and things like that. So let's take a look at this option. Over to you, Dylan.
Hey everyone, we'll walk through, and you'll learn how you could add this yourself, this alert app, and it's like a banner that'll be at the top of your site. People have requested this and, asked if they could get something like this. So I'm going to show you how you could potentially do it yourself. Now, of course, you could always reach out to us to help you with that as well. And as mentioned, this could be great for, urgent notifications and things like that, but it could be informational as well. And I'll show you what I mean. There's going to be an option for that actually in the solution. But some terms that you'll want to be familiar, some things in general that you'll want to be familiar with if you want to do this yourself will be your app catalog, as well as PnP PowerShell, at least in the way that we're going to do it in this example. So your app catalog is where your, your different custom web parts, third-party apps, whatever they might be, that are added to your tenant that lives in what would be called like an app catalog. Usually by default, it's actually, a site called app catalog, but it could be named in your environment app store or apps or something like that. But it's the location where you would deploy these from. So whatever that location is, this is where you would add that solution. And then PnP PowerShell, in this particular example, it's using a PnP PowerShell snippet. It's just a straightforward one. You're just connecting to the site and then running this action, which is just a copy and paste, that action. But this is actually a module. If you're not familiar, this is a module that you would install on your computer, which would allow you to configure stuff in your 365 environment if you have access to do so. Now, of course, there might be other types of ways to run scripts. If someone's familiar, they already know how to do things like this, then you could potentially run this a different way. But in this example, we're going to show it using the PnP PowerShell module. So what I'll do is I'll actually pull up, show you the example on the screen, and then we'll just walk through. It's basically like there's like 3 main steps to this. So as I come over here, we're going to put it on the screen. So you can see up at the top, I've already got it running, and it's set to the, here I'll show you, the urgent. And if I edit this item here, you can see I could actually change it to information. And so what this is just a SharePoint list. And let's refresh. So basically this is just a SharePoint list, and it'll do, once you refresh the screen, if you make a change, you'll see it right away after you do one refresh. And you can set expiration dates or when it should start and end. Is it a informational or urgent request? You can see our start and end date. And so these are actually just fields you would want to create on your site. So just at the top level here, and we're providing that link to it. And there's actually, you can actually walk through it here, but basically I put a screenshot of it and a link to it in the slide, but you're just creating these fields and it just shows you're creating a choice field, a text field, 2 date fields, and a URL field. And you just want to call it alert or alerts. And so it just explains that there. So you're just creating that list with a couple fields, and then you're adding this package, actually, which you can actually see on here as well. There's a link to it. We can also provide that to you, but you're just uploading that to the app catalog, this package. So I'll just show you my app catalog here. So in our environment, so you're able to just either drag it from your computer into here or do the upload and find that. And then you're just going to deploy that package. So you don't have to do anything else. It's just already packaged up. You're just deploying it by uploading it, and then it'll have an option to deploy it if it doesn't do it automatically. I think you may just upload it, and that's all you have to do, because really the way to activate it, so you're creating the list, uploading the solution, the way to really activate it on a site to get it running is that little PowerShell snippet, PnP PowerShell snippet. So let me just show you that. And really you don't have to, if you just want to activate it, let's say on your root site, all you're doing is just putting in your URL where you want it to display. You're connecting to that site, and then you're just, it's just a copy and paste snippet. You're choosing where you want to activate this. Now this could be tweaked if you want it to, show throughout your whole environment or show in certain sites. The script could be tweaked, but if you just want to show it on your root site, all you have to do is create the list, upload that solution, and then you run this snippet by switching out your URL. So it's pretty straightforward if you just want to use it for that purpose. So when people hit the landing page, there's that alert banner for important things like power outages or something along those lines. Now, if you want to do something more custom, it's definitely possible, but that you're getting more into custom development. At least with this, you're kind of looking at a 3-step process. So within 10, 15 minutes, potentially, you could get this just running in your environment. So that could be pretty nice for those that have asked for that. So I think that'll cover all for my particular topic here. And so I guess I'll hand it back over and I'll go to the last slide here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dylan. Well, that is a wrap. This concludes the presentation portion of today's webinar. I hope we've sparked some interest for you to go explore in your tenant, and please reach out to us if we can assist you with any of the topics that we covered today. So for SPC clients, thank you once again for joining us and for being part of the program. You will be receiving the PowerPoint, the assets, the instructions, all the how-tos in your learning site shortly. And again, please reach out if we can assist you in following through with anything that's delivered. Also, a recording of today's presentation will be given if anybody missed and would like to watch, or if you'd like to use it as a reference. So you'll have that. We're about ready to segue now into the open mic Q&A session. If you can't stay around for that, we just want to say thank you again for coming and learning with us today, and we hope to see you in January for some great topics in the new year. I know that there's some great branding and forms things come in that's very exciting. So we're really hoping to share that with you. All right, so this is a great time to drop off if you can't stick around for the Q&A. Again, thank you for joining us. So we will open up mics now. If you can refer to the screen, you'll see the instructions. If you'll just kind of click on that, raise your hand in the top of your Teams, that will allow Christy to go ahead and unmute your mic. While we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and read what's left in the plane. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much. We'll hang out here for just a minute if there are any questions, and if not, then we'll go ahead and conclude. I don't see any hands raised. Oh, there's a question here from Jonathan. Are all of these features available in GCC? I don't know if anybody knows specifically if you validated that. I will say, Jonathan, as you already know, GCC does run behind, and some of these features are fairly new. The PnP PowerShell, I'm sure, can be deployed for the alert in your GCC high tenant, and then we'll have to check on the templates to see if they're available yet.
But yeah, I will say I have run some PnP scripts and in a GCC high without any issues there. But at least for that, like alert banner might work.
Most welcome. All right, everyone. I think we may have answered questions so far. Once again, just hit that raise hand if you'd like to have your mic opened and have a chat with the presenters. All right, I think that concludes today. Let's follow up with Jonathan, to actually Hayden and Leona, if you can, on your topics, and then we will see you all in January. Take care, everyone.